Alright, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. My name is Paul, for those of you who are new to the show. Today's video, we are going to start working on a porch on this post frame home. So we're going to break this into two videos, and we're just going to cover the things that we do on a porch for a post frame home. I think you guys will find it interesting, and it works out really well for us. Before we get started, for those of you who want to self-build your post frame home or building, we have a Patreon group. It's really awesome. We talk about different topics every month. You're part of a community of other self-builders, so check that out. And also, we can help you with design services. Email us, design@MrPostFrame. Let's go ahead and jump into the show. 7 inches up from the bottom is going to be our finished concrete. So we'll strike a line across that. So that just gives us a good, easy starting point, because this was set. This is the highest pier, the bottom of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
it should be close enough for this that we just want to make sure we're plenty low enough so we're a couple inches below the floor, and then it slopes ways. So 4 inches down from there. That's the height of our brackets out here.
Okay.
So they can be 2 inches down. They'll probably be more like 2.5 inches down, and then they'll slope away.
So this is where we want to zero.
That's where we want to zero, and that's where we want to zero these lines, because then our string lines are perfectly level. Then when we go to set our brackets, all we have to do is have those string lines up, and we know to take it right down to there. So what we'll do is when we set these, our tubes, we'll put them like 4 to 5 inches below, and then we'll just rip 2x6s like we did before. That'll sit on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then when we're setting our brackets, we know we have to just slide that board in there, set it down, and make sure it's even with that line. So set your zero at that line, and then set the top of your boards at that.
Okay.
And then get your string lines all squared and stuff. All right, guys, we're laying out this porch for our porch footing. So use string lines again, and all of our porches from the grade board to the outside edge of the post is 8 feet. So our string line out here will be set at 8 feet from the grade board. So that's what we do. We'll put up some batter boards, set this one to 8 feet, and then we'll square up our ends. So we always do 8 feet to the outside of the post, and then an extra foot of concrete, so the concrete comes out 9 feet, which will match our overhang. But we got this all laid out. So now we're going to mark our posts after break here. And we set our string line to the height of what our bracket is going to be. That way it's nice and easy. When we're setting our brackets, we just take them down to where that string line is, slide our board underneath, and good to go. we got 11 porch holes. We got 10 of them done, and I was worried about this last one because this is exactly where we hit stuff on the porch footing, so we did. So basically when you hit some stuff, you just got to dig a little, then hand dig, try to pick out rocks or whatever else is in there, and kind of slowly work your way through it. To the center of this board, because if you imagine, you know, this is the bottom of the porch, that gives us plenty of nailing for trim here, and then you go up 5.5 inches, and there's plenty of nailing up there. Make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where we got the starting measurement of 109.5. Now we have to take the 109.5 and add how much lower we dropped the brackets. Because we dropped a couple inches, so the concrete starts lower than the finished floor of the house, and then it slopes. So we found the highest bracket, that's 0, so that's where we find our difference, and we add it to that 109. So that difference was 3 1/4, so 109.5 plus 3 1/4 was 112 3/4. And then you have to determine what kind of porch and header are you doing. If we were doing it the other way, where we used double 2x6s, that would have been our starting measurement, 112 3/4, but we're not. We're doing a post and beam style porch, so that 5.5, we have to subtract 5.5 for our beam. So that got us to the 107 1/4, which is our starting. All right, guys, so we're doing a post and beam porch with 6x6 green treated. So I figured out where I wanted this signifies the finished concrete floor in the house. And this right here is where I want the finished ceiling to be, and that is 109.5. And I have double 2x6s there, and the reason I do that is so I can be a couple inches up where my bottom of my porch starts. So I'll have a couple inches for trims on the outside to be nailed to, and then 5.5 inch 2x6, and I'll have a couple inches on top. So that's my starting dimension. Then I have to find the highest pier out here and get the difference between the finished concrete here and where the pier brackets sit. That was 3¼ inches. So if I add those together, that's 112 3/4. That's my starting measurement. Since this is post and beam, I'm going to have a 5.5 inch beam on top of my post, so I have to subtract that from there, which is 107 1/4, and that's my baseline. So my highest post will be cut at 107 1/4. And then all the others, I'll just add whatever the difference is. For instance, this one was down 3/16, so we go 107 1/4 plus 3/16, and that gets us to 107 7/16 is what this post has to be cut at for it to be level across the top. And we did that on each one, so now we have a list. We're going to cut them, lay them out. So 189.5. 189.5 is what we're going to cut this one. 189.5. Good? Yeah. That's pretty good. Yep, go with the bottom one. Yep. say right there?
No, you don't do it. Right.
All right, guys, this is a post and beam porch we're building, and we're using green treated 6x6, so they're actually 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So the brackets we're using are the SWP 66s. So those brackets are specifically for a 6x6 post. It's actually 5.5 by 5.5. So we set all of our posts first, and now we're seaming our header right at the top. So those 6x6s are 16 footers in most cases. We do have a couple shorter ones, and then they're seamed right in the middle with structural lags down through the top into the post. So once you get them all tied together, they're nice and sturdy. This porch goes around the back side. You can see we got some cross bracing here so we can get those plumb. And now we're going to start putting sub rafters across. We do have at the ends, we got a 6x6 post that goes from the corner post to the house. So we'll just use a bracket to hold it to the house. So we got one there, and then we have one there at that end. And then in front of the door, whenever I have an A-frame, I always take 6x6s from the two posts and take them back to the house. I think it looks really nice. It's a nice break, kind of defines that space. So we'll do that. And then we'll use sub rafter 2x6s all the way to the house, and then 2x12 rafters down. And typically this is post frame, so I'm doing my porch rafters a little different. I'm just going to take them all the way out to the edge of the overhang, so right on top of the sub rafters, and then I'm going to use drop purlins. If you're using purlins that sit on top of your rafters, you can't take your 2x12 rafter all the way out to the edge, because then you'll end up with this giant fascia, which you don't want. But I feel like it might be easier for people in the aspect of cutting your rafters if they just die right into the end of your 2x6 sub rafter, and then use drop purlins in this case. You do have to use the drop purlin brackets, which kind of in some ways are a pain, but cutting your rafters will be a little bit easier. So I'll show you that when we do that. It's cold, snowy, kind of miserable. So we're just gonna get what we can done. We're going to include the price of the materials we're using in this video so you can get an idea, but in the second porch video we will break it down per linear foot. So if you want to add a porch to your post frame home or building, you'll have a really good idea how much it's going to cost you just by the linear feet. I think that'd be helpful to people. But as always, we appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you on the next video.